There might be 50 ways to leave your lover, but there's only 21 ways to die in a Shakespearean tragedy. Let's go. G'day everybody, Paul from Small Crown Productions. Welcome to day 60 of the 100 Days of Shakespeare. I can't believe we're at day 60 already. Today we are looking at the ways that you can die in a Shakespearean tragedy. Now, I should say from the outset, I did not count this myself. This is actually taken from the National Theatre's Shakespeare's Tragedies, Everybody Dies infographic. So this is a fun bit of content that was put out by the National Theatre some years ago. It's a bit of fun. I definitely encourage you to check it out. I'll pop a link for it in the description below. But I haven't done this count myself. However, I have done a little bit of fact checking and my numbers do not match their numbers exactly because I personally think that they miscategorized a couple of the killings. Now, we are going to count this down from the highest number of kills to the lowest number of kills, and we're going to finish off with what I consider to be the obscure. So coming in at number 1 with the highest kill rate, probably no surprise to any of us, stabbing. At least 32 kills in the Shakespearean tragedies. There is a little bit of contention depending on how you want to count it, by a sword or a dagger. It's the most likely way that you'll be dispatched. Now, the contention actually comes around accuracy of numbers, and it's understandable because let's take Macbeth as a classic example. So Macduff's family is killed. In the script, we see Lady Macduff and her son. They're the only two characters that we see from the Macduff family. Yet, later, when Macduff is told about the murders, he refers to his children, insinuating that there was more than one. So we can at least count 2 kids for Macduff. And then, in his woe, he says, "All my pretty ones? Did you say all? Oh, hell kite, all? What? All my pretty chickens and their dam at one fell swoop? If you only had 2, wouldn't you say both?" So the reference here may actually be a reference to his wife and his children being all his pretty ones, or it may reference the fact that he had more than 2 children. So we're basing this on the fact that Macduff says children and not all, because that could include his wife. So we're counting 2 kids, but there's also the reference here to his servants being killed as well. But we're not counting any of those because we didn't see any on stage. You could count the messenger that pops in as a servant, but we're not going to do that in this case. So coming in at 32, stabbing. Now there is a big difference between our first place getter and our second place getter, but coming in at number 2 with 5 kills to its name is beheading. Yeah, not what I expected either. So 5 kills to beheading, and they are Marcius and Quintus from Titus Andronicus, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern from Hamlet, and not only did he lose his mind, he lost his head, Macbeth. Classic kill. Anyway, classic kill. That's pretty... Let's not say that. And coming in at 3rd place with 4 kills to its name is poisoning. We have Charmian from Antony and Cleopatra, Regan from King Lear, Gertrude from Hamlet, and Romeo from Romeo and Juliet. Now, coming in at 4th place is a combo deal with 3 killings to its name. It's stabbing and poisoning. And these 3 deaths all happen in one play. That's right, Hamlet, Claudius, Hamlet, and Laertes all get killed in this play by being poisoned and stabbed. And the reason this category exists is because you can't be 100% sure which they died from. However, I would say that if you wanted to get really technical, you could say that Claudius died from the stab wounds, Hamlet and Laertes died from the poison because they actually refer to being able to feel it go through their blood. But we'll stick with this separate category for the double header and leave it at that. Coming in at 5th place, we have an equal tie with 2 killings each. We have hanging and dismemberment. In our hanging category, we have Cordelia from King Lear, and we have the clown from Titus Andronicus. In our dismemberment category, we have Coriolanus and Alberus. Alberus had his arms and legs cut off, and then he was burned. Now, the infographic actually has a special category for Chiron and Demetrius being stabbed and then baked into pies, but I've added them into the stabbing category because the indication is that they were stabbed first and then cut up and baked into pies after they were dead. Had they been crusted alive and thrown in the oven, I would absolutely give them their own category, but I think it's pretty clear that they were stabbed first and then baked later. And coming in at 6th place with an equal 1 kill each, we have 15 different ways to die. Tamora, who died of indigestion because she ate 2 men that were baked into pies. Lady Montague, who died of a broken heart in Romeo and Juliet. The Fool in King Lear, who just simply disappears. Iris from Antony and Cleopatra, who just simply drops dead. Ophelia from Hamlet, who drowns. Portia from Julius Caesar, who eats hot coals. King Lear, who dies from grief. Lady Macbeth, who dies from a lack of sleep. Enobarbus from Antony and Cleopatra, who dies from shame. Gloucester from King Lear, who died of shock after being blinded. Desdemona, who was smothered by a pillow. Cleopatra, who died from a snake bite. Aaron from Titus Andronicus, who starved after being buried up to his neck. Our second last one is a little contentious because there is actually no way to know that he actually died at the end of the play or whether he just wandered off into the wilderness, because Timon in Timon of Athens says that he will throw himself away, and we don't actually know what happens to him. And possibly the saddest death in a Shakespearean tragedy, however very likely written as a piece of comedy, is Cinna the poet from Julius Caesar. If you're unfamiliar with his story, Cinna the poet was one of the conspirators to Julius Caesar's murder, and when they decide that they're going to round up all of the people that killed Caesar, they go out in a mob looking for Cinna the poet and find him. Only this poor guy is another guy named Cinna who happens to be a poet who's just visiting town and wasn't involved in the conspiracy, but because he's got the same name, they decide to tear him apart anyway. So poor old Cinna dies by being teared apart by a mob. So there you have it, 21 ways to die in a Shakespearean tragedy. Please be careful in these uncertain times. I would hate for anything like that to happen to you. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and of course, check out some of the other videos, and I will see you there.